Hi guys, I hope you're doing great. Today is our first official C++ tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to be using the Visual Studio IDE. So let's get started without no further ado. So let's just get on this program, and I'm not going to show you how to install the Visual Studio because there's thousands of tutorials out there on YouTube, and it's just very simple. You just go on the website, you download it, and there's a ton of tutorials out there, and I just don't really want to waste time explaining how to do something as obvious as downloading and installing Visual Studio. I'm just going to say I'm using the 2019 version, and you will need to create an account. So you see I have an account here. So, first tutorial. What we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to create the Hello World program. So by default, I've already created a Hello World program, and by default, it already comes up as, this is already a Hello World program. It's not complete yet, but I'm going to change some things around. First of all, these green lines of code are actually comments. You don't really need to know what they are. They just let you comment stuff. For example, they allow programmers, for example, let's say you're writing a video game, right? And someone else is going to read your code. Let's say you have a specific function in a company, you have to write a script for, let's say, the movement of the player character in a game. You have to explain what each line of code does so that another programmer can understand and can interpret your code easier. That's basically what the comments are for. The compiler doesn't look at ignores the comments. It just ignores the comments. Therefore, you won't get any errors. So let's just delete them. We don't really need any comments at the moment. I don't really need them. Sorry, my hair kind of looks like a mess. I just came out of the shower. Okay, so first of all, we're going to delete this std and the 2 colons. We don't really need this. And instead, we're going to write using namespace std. And as I already said, and semicolon at the end. As I already said, I'm going to take one step at a time. I'm going to explain everything. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Include Iostream. Basically, what this means is there are a lot of different basically what they're called is header files, right? And what they allow you to do is they tell the program, look, the compiler, look. So we're gonna allow users to use certain functions. For example, they allow us to input information and output information. For example, they provide certain functions and classes. They provide certain functionality. If you want to think about it in a simpler way, they're like a library of different functions, methods, and classes that you can use. Right now, all you need to know is that Iostream is the main one. There's also include string, which is also quite useful. And strings basically allow us to, strings are variables which store words. So for example, Roman, cat, dog. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And using namespace std, basically a namespace, it allows us to access certain functions and methods. So you always need using namespace std in your C++ programs, or you could just say std cout without, and you won't need this line of code. But I prefer to just put it at the beginning, because if you don't, you'll have to put this at the beginning of every cout statement and cin statement, and it just gets very boring. So why not make our life simpler and just put it at the top here. And also, to terminate the program, you're going to need return 0. So this will basically end the program. Yeah, it's best practice to put it, but yeah. You can also return 1, but return 0 will terminate the program. And int main, finally, it's a function. For now, int main is a good function. You can use it for simpler programs, right? But when code gets more advanced and the programs get more advanced, you're going to use different methods and different functions. A method and a function are practically the same thing by definition. But an int main basically means that basically all of the code that you input goes inside of these two parentheses. You put all the code in between, so the compiler will only look in between the parentheses, so all the code has to go in there. For instance, if we put this line of code here outside of the function scope, we'll get an error. You see, we're getting 3 errors. This declaration has no storage and expected. Yeah, so basically you cannot put it outside. All of the code has to go inside of this function. And what a function is, basically a function is a block of code which performs a specific function. In this case, it returns an integer value, and that integer value is the return 0. 0 is an integer value. And this function has no parameters. Jesus, I can't speak today. This function has no parameters. It's a very basic function, and it's the main function. We can also, and later on, in other programs, we're going to be creating our own functions. They're quite simple and quite straightforward to create, but right now you don't have to think about it too much. Also, cout, it allows output in our program. In C++, cout, you can output lines of code. For example, hello world. We could put anything in here, really. It doesn't matter as long as it's within the speech marks. So we could put hey, or hey, how are you, for example, right? As long as it's in between the speech marks. And the /n, basically it doesn't have to be there. It just creates a new line and makes our program more neat. What you do need, though, is a semicolon at the end. We have a semicolon here, semicolon there. We need semicolons at the end of lines of code in C++. So this is what. So right now you've created the most basic. You've created your first program. Congratulations. It's very basic. All it does really just outputs, hey, how are you, to the console. And right now I'm going to show you something else. So we've included the string library, or this string header tag, and right now, because we've included it, we can create a string value. As I already said, a string is a variable which stores words. So for example, it could store a player's name, for example, right? Let's say we're creating a video game and we want the video game to record to track the name of the player, right? So for example, the video game could ask, enter your name, right? And we'll need a place to store the name, and we're going to store it within the string. So let's just create a new string. Let's say string name, for example. And yeah. And cin is obviously input, as I already said. And we're going to input into the name. We're going to write into the name variable. And this will allow us to input the name. And now we can output the name to the screen. For example, okay, hey there. And name, right? Can't type right now. Yep. So we can enter the name, and the name will be displayed back on the screen. Alright, okay, let's just run this. takes a while to run. It's just to have a really slow laptop. Okay, so my name is, oh, it's weird. Okay, so let's just input our name, Roman. Hey there, Roman, right? We have to change this up. I forgot to change this. It should really ask, hey, what is your name? Or what's your name? Your name. What's your name? And, yeah, what's your name? Okay, so now our program is gradually getting more complex. Let's enter both the name and let's ask for both the name and the age of the player. Okay, so there are different data types in programming. There's actually the string data type. Well, I'm just gonna list some of them because there's many. String, these are the most essential data types. Oh, let's just create a comment here. Okay, so string, int, char, bool, double, float, double, and yeah. Well, let's just look at these 5. So string, it allows us to store words, sometimes even phrases, you know. Integers are whole numbers. For example, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. Characters are single, it can be a single letter, it can be a single sign, it can be a single, it's just one character from the ASCII code. For example, it could be Q, it could be the hashtag sign, but it can't be a number because obviously a number is an integer. Boolean stores true or false values, and doubles store they store real numbers. So for example, 2.5, 3.6, numbers that are not whole numbers, decimal numbers. So yeah, those are the main ones, and we're going to be looking at them later on in the tutorial. For now, we're going to create an integer. And let's just call this one h, integer h. Cout. Jesus. Yeah, let's just create a new line here. How old are you? Cn h. Okay, so now let's display the h, and obviously cout because we're outputting it to the screen, to the console. Okay, you are obviously age, and you see how I'm connecting these UR and the age using these signs. That's how you do it in C++. For example, it depends on the programming language. Like in C#, you just use the add sign, right? And you also use the add sign in Python. But in C++, you do it using those. I don't. I guess they're called less than signs. Yeah. You put 2 less than signs, and that's how you do stuff. And that's how you join stuff in C++. Okay, so your age, let's just say your age years Alt. Okay. That should work. Okay, let's just wait now. Okay, perfect. My name is Roman. Daria. 16 or 16 years old. Works perfectly, but I kind of messed up here with the N. Didn't see that. And I should have probably created. And also you can create a new line by saying NDL. So this should create a new line too. You can either use the /n or NDL. They're practically the same thing. End line. Okay, and that should work flawlessly. Okay, so you can also, with strings and with integers, you can assign values to them. For example, string name, we could say that it equals, let's just say, C++ is awesome, for example, right? We can do that too. We can assign certain phrases to variables, and we can do the same thing for ints. 16, right? Yeah. So you can do that, and then when we enter the name, right, it is going to be overridden. So C++ is awesome, which is stored in name, is going to be overridden by the name, and you can do that. It's perfectly fine to do that in C++, but there is one situation in which you can't do that, and that is if that was a constant string. And basically what a constant string or integer or just a constant variable is, its value cannot be altered. Its value can only be altered in the place where the variable is declared. For example, we can put a constant const int, and that can be, actually it's a constant double, and that could be pi, right? So pi is, I don't know exactly the size of pi, but it is 3.1415. Yep. So its value is constant. It can never be changed. So for example, if we try to change the value of pi anywhere else in the program, we will get an error. So let's say we just randomly said that pi was equal to 5, right? 5.3. You see we're getting an error here. And expression must be a modifiable value. What that means is we cannot modify it because it is a constant. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for the video, for the first tutorial. I hope you guys learned something from it, but let's just quickly go over what we've learned this tutorial. So basically, include Iostream and include string are header files. They allow certain functions. They allow us to access certain functions and classes. Using namespace std is a namespace which also provides us with functions and functionality, which allows us to use certain functionality, and we can either declare it at the top using namespace std, or we can just put std 2 columns whenever we want to use. But it's just too time consuming in my opinion, and it's just much easier to put using namespace std at the top and not having to worry about it. Int main is just a function, and it returns an integer. That integer is returned 0. That is when the program is terminated. And right now we have a string variable. We declared a string variable, and we assigned the value C++ is awesome. So C++ is awesome is stored in name. int age 16, so we assign 16 to age. Constant double pi. A constant again means that its value cannot be changed. Hey, what's your name? So basically this is printed out onto the console, and we enter our name, and the name is overrides C++ is awesome. And also, hey there, name. This allows us to just for the program to output our name or whatever we entered in there. Hey there, the colon shouldn't even be there. Okay, so obviously this is repeated, so I'm not gonna even explain what this is. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video, and keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. That's what I did when I was learning C++. When I first learned just very, very basics, how to create a variable, how to assign a value to it, how to use cout, cins, I started practicing, and for a month, I was just creating very basic programs, but very fun programs too. And I have 30 of these little programs created, just very basic programs created using variables and cout, cins, and that's pretty much it. So keep practicing, and it will become second nature. It will become second nature to you. Okay, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.